Last night, while you were sleeping, slugs were eating your garden. Not nibbling, eating. They came out at dusk the second the sun dropped below the tree line. They slid across your mulch, up your raised beds, and straight to the plants you have been babying all spring. Your hostas, your lettuce, your strawberries, your seedlings that just started looking like something. They worked all night. Their rasping mouth parts, called a radula, scraped through leaf after leaf like tiny belt sanders. A single slug can consume several times its own body weight in plant material in one night. And they do not eat neatly. They leave ragged, irregular holes, shredded edges, half-eaten stems. A garden that looked perfect at sunset looks like a crime scene by sunrise. By morning, all you found were those ragged holes and silvery slime trails crisscrossing the soil like tiny highways. And you probably did what most people do. You went to the garden center, grabbed a bag of slug pellets for $12 to $15, and scattered them around your beds. Here is what the bag does not tell you. Those pellets contain medaldehyde. It is a poison. It kills slugs, yes. But it also kills the dog that sniffs your garden, the cat that walks through your beds, the toddler who picks up a bright blue pellet because it looks like candy, the songbird that eats a poison slug, the toad that was living under your hosta and eating slugs for free before you killed it with the very product you bought to replace it. You just spent $15 to poison your own yard. Now here is what I want you to do instead. Go to your kitchen, open the fridge, grab the cheapest beer you have. If you do not have beer, grab a packet of dry yeast from the baking aisle. Total cost about $1. And I am going to show you a trick that gardeners have been using for over 100 years. A trick that kills slugs by the dozens every single night. A trick that will not hurt your dog, your cat, your kids, your birds, your toads, your bees, or a single beneficial insect in your garden. $1, 5 minutes, and your slug problem is over. The trick is called a beer trap, and it works because of one simple fact about slug biology that most people do not know. Slugs are not attracted to beer because of the alcohol. They are attracted to yeast. Specifically, they are attracted to the volatile compounds that yeast produces during fermentation, the esters, the alcohols, the carbon dioxide. These compounds smell to a slug exactly like decaying organic matter. And decaying organic matter is what slugs eat. It is their primary food source. So when you put a container of beer in your garden, to a slug it smells like the greatest buffet of rotting leaves and decomposing plant material they have ever encountered. They cannot resist it. They will crawl toward it from 3 feet away in every direction. They will climb into the container, they will drink, they will get drunk, and they will drown. That is the whole trick. If you are getting value from this, drop a like. It tells YouTube to show this to more people who are tired of spending money on products that do not work and actually harm their yard. Here is exactly how to set it up. You need 2 things, a shallow container, and something with yeast in it. That is it. For the container, you do not need to buy anything. Look in your recycling bin, a tuna can, a cat food can, a yogurt cup, a cottage cheese container, a plastic cup from a fast food place, a margarine tub, an aluminum pie tin, anything that is roughly 2 to 4 inches deep with a wide opening. If you want to get fancy, you can cut the bottom off a 2-liter soda bottle, but honestly, a tuna can works perfectly. For the bait, you have 2 options. Option 1 is beer. Any beer. The cheapest beer you can find is actually the best choice, because cheap lagers and pilsners tend to have a strong yeast aroma that slugs find irresistible. You are not sharing your craft IPA with slugs. Give them the dollar store lager. They cannot tell the difference, and frankly, they do not deserve the good stuff. Non-alcoholic beer works too, by the way, because it is the yeast, not the alcohol, that does the work. Option 2, and this is the one that costs almost nothing, is a homemade yeast mixture. Take 1 cup of warm water, add 1 teaspoon of sugar. Add half a teaspoon of active dry yeast, the kind you buy for $1 in the baking aisle. Stir it. Let it sit for about 15 minutes until it starts to foam. That foam is the yeast producing the exact same fermentation byproducts that are in beer, the exact same compounds that slugs cannot resist. This mixture works nearly as well as beer and costs literally pennies. If you have a big garden and need a dozen traps, a couple packets of yeast and some sugar go way further than a case of beer. Now, placement. This is where most people mess up. Where you put the trap matters more than what you put in it. Slugs are creatures of habit. During the day, they hide in damp, dark, cool places. Under mulch, under rocks, under boards, in dense ground cover, at the base of thick plants, along fence lines, near compost piles. At night, they emerge and travel along specific routes to their feeding areas. You can actually see these routes if you go out with a flashlight after dark. The silvery slime trails are their highways. You want to place your traps along these highways, between the hiding spots and the plants they are eating. Think of it as setting up a roadblock. You are intercepting them on their way to dinner. Specifically, place traps near the plants that slugs love most: hostas, lettuce, cabbage, strawberries, marigolds, and any young seedlings. Place them in the shaded, moist areas where you see the most slime trails, along the edges of raised beds where slugs climb up from the surrounding soil. Do not place traps in the middle of open, sunny, dry ground. Slugs do not travel across exposed, dry soil. Put the traps where the slugs already are. Now, dig a small hole with a trowel and set the container in it so the rim is right at soil level, maybe a 1/4 inch above. This is important. If the rim is too high, slugs have trouble climbing in. If it is too low, beneficial ground beetles might fall in, and you do not want that because ground beetles eat slug eggs. Level with the soil is the sweet spot. Pour about 1 to 2 inches of beer or yeast mixture into the container. Do not fill it all the way to the top. You want enough liquid to drown them, but not so much that they can use the surface tension to float and escape. How many traps do you need? For an average-sized vegetable garden or flower bed, start with 3 to 5 traps spaced about 3 to 5 feet apart. Each trap has an effective range of roughly 3 feet in every direction. If you have a large garden, you will need more, but start with 3 to 5 and see what you catch. You can always add more traps to problem areas once you see where the heaviest catches are. And here is an upgrade for the serious gardener. If you live in an area with a lot of rain, or if you have curious pets that might drink the beer, build a covered trap from a 2-liter soda bottle. Cut 3 or 4 1-inch holes around the midsection of the bottle. About 2 inches from the bottom, bury the bottle so the holes are at soil level. Pour beer through the top until it covers the bottom inch, inside the bottle. Screw the cap back on, the slugs crawl through the holes and fall into the beer. The cap keeps rain out so it does not dilute your bait. It keeps pets from licking the beer, and it concentrates the yeast scent through the small holes, making it even more attractive. These bottle traps last up to a week between refills instead of 2 to 3 days for open containers. 1 soda bottle from your recycling bin and 2 minutes of work with a utility knife. Set the traps in the evening, right before dusk. Slugs are nocturnal. They come out as the sun goes down and feed all night. By morning, check your traps. And this is the part that will either horrify you or give you deep satisfaction, depending on your personality. Because you are going to find slugs. Lots of them. Drowned in beer. Floating in your tuna can like tiny, slimy, drunk sailors who fell overboard at the world's smallest bar. The first morning I checked my traps, I counted 17 slugs in a single yogurt cup. 17. In one trap. In one night. I had 5 traps set up. The total haul was over 50 slugs across my garden. 50 slugs that would have spent that night chewing holes in my lettuce, shredding my hostas, and decapitating my seedlings. Instead, they spent the night getting drunk and drowning. I felt like I had won the gardening lottery. Maintenance is simple. Empty the traps every 2 to 3 days. Dump the contents into your compost pile or the trash. Give the container a quick rinse. Refill with fresh beer or yeast mixture. The scent fades after a few days, and stale beer is less attractive to slugs. Fresh bait means fresh catches. Now, here is something important that nobody talks about when they recommend slug pellets. Those metaldehyde pellets do not just kill slugs, they poison the entire food chain in your garden. A slug eats the pellet and dies. A songbird eats the poisoned slug. The bird gets sick or dies. A toad eats a poisoned slug. The toad dies, and that toad was eating 20 to 30 slugs per night for free. You just killed your best slug defense. Even the supposedly safer iron phosphate pellets have issues. They contain EDTA, a chelating agent, which has been shown to be harmful to earthworms in some studies. And earthworms are the backbone of healthy soil. Kill your earthworms, and your soil structure collapses. Your drainage suffers, your plants struggle, and ironically, you create exactly the kind of damp, poorly drained conditions that slugs love. You are making the problem worse while trying to fix it. Beer traps kill nothing except slugs and the occasional snail, earwig, or pillbug that falls in. Gardeners who use beer traps consistently report that they never find bees, ladybugs, lacewings, or other beneficial insects in their traps. These insects are simply not attracted to fermented yeast. They want nectar and pollen, not beer. Your beneficial insect population stays intact. Your toads stay alive. Your birds stay healthy. The food chain in your garden keeps functioning, and the slugs die. But wait, I want to give you a few more tricks that work alongside the beer traps. Because the best slug defense is a layered defense, multiple strategies working together. First, the board trick. Take a flat board, a piece of plywood, an old roof shingle, or a thick piece of cardboard. Lay it on the ground, in your garden, propped up slightly on small sticks or pebbles so slugs can crawl underneath. During the day, slugs will hide under the board because it is dark, cool, and moist. Exactly the conditions they seek. Every morning, flip the board, scrape off the slugs, and drop them into a bucket of soapy water. This is the cheapest slug control method in existence. The board costs nothing, the soap costs nothing, and you get the satisfaction of seeing exactly how many slugs were hiding in your garden. Some mornings, you will flip that board and find 20, 30, 40 slugs clustered together like they are having a meeting you are about to permanently adjourn. Second, the watermelon rind trick. After you eat watermelon, save the rinds. Place them dome side up in your garden in the evening. Slugs will crawl inside the rind overnight to feed on the remaining fruit and hide from the morning sun. In the morning, pick up the rind. It will be full of slugs. Toss the whole thing into a bag and into the trash. Or feed it to your chickens if you have them. Chickens love slugs. Cantaloupe rinds and grapefruit halves work the same way. Any concave fruit shell creates the dark, moist shelter that slugs crave. Third, copper tape. This one costs a few dollars, but lasts all season. Copper reacts with slug slime and creates a mild electric-like sensation that repels them. It does not kill them, but they will not cross it. Put copper tape around the rim of your raised beds, around the base of pots, or around the stems of prized plants. It acts as a barrier that slugs refuse to cross. Combined with beer traps that actively reduce the population, copper tape protects specific high-value plants like a fortress wall. Fourth, coffee grounds. Scatter used coffee grounds around the base of plants that slugs target. The caffeine irritates their soft bodies and acts as a natural deterrent. It is not a killer, but it is a repellent. And your local coffee shop will give you used grounds for free if you just ask. Most are happy to get rid of them. Starbucks even has a program for it. Free slug repellent that also adds nitrogen to your soil as it breaks down. That is a 2-for-1 deal that costs you nothing but a 5-minute stop on your way home. Fifth, encourage natural predators. Toads, frogs, ground beetles, hedgehogs, and birds all eat slugs. If you create habitat for these animals, they will do a significant portion of your slug control for free. A single toad living under your hosta can eat 20 to 30 slugs per night. That is one toad doing the work of several beer traps without any maintenance. A ground beetle patrols your soil eating slug eggs before they hatch. Build a small toad house out of an overturned clay pot with a chip knocked out of the rim for an entrance. Place it in a shaded, moist corner of your garden. If there are toads in your neighborhood, they will find it and move in. Free, perpetual, self-sustaining slug control. Let me give you the math on this. A bag of commercial slug pellets costs $12 to $15. It treats your garden for maybe 2 to 3 weeks before you need more. Over a full growing season, April through October, you might spend $40 to $60 on pellets. And every single application is putting poison into your soil, your food chain, and potentially your pets. A single can of cheap beer costs about $1. It fills 3 to 5 traps. A packet of dry yeast costs $1 and makes enough bait for dozens of trap refills across the entire season. Add in the free options, the board trick, the watermelon rind trick, the coffee grounds from your local coffee shop, the toad house from an old clay pot, and your total slug control budget for the entire growing season is somewhere between $1 and $5. $1 to $5 versus $40 to $60. Zero chemicals versus metaldehyde poison. Safe for every living thing in your yard versus toxic to dogs, cats, birds, toads, and earthworms. And here's the thing that surprised me most when I started using beer traps. After about 2 weeks of consistent trapping, the slug population in my garden dropped dramatically. The first few nights, I was pulling out 30, 40, 50 slugs across all my traps. By week 2, it was down to 10 or 15 total. By week 3, single digits. The traps were not just catching slugs, they were crashing the local population. Because every slug that drowns in a beer trap is a slug that does not lay eggs. And slugs lay a lot of eggs. A single slug can lay up to 400 eggs per year in batches of 10 to 50 at a time, deposited in moist soil, under mulch, under rocks, in compost piles, anywhere dark and damp. Those eggs hatch in about 2 to 4 weeks depending on temperature and moisture, and the baby slugs start eating immediately. They are tiny, almost invisible, but they are hungry from day one. So when you kill one adult slug in a beer trap, you are not just removing one slug from your garden, you are removing the 400 eggs that slug would have laid over the next few months. 400 potential baby slugs that will never hatch, 400 mouths that will never chew your lettuce. That is the math that makes beer traps so powerful. You are not just treating symptoms, you are collapsing the breeding population. And the effect compounds over time. Fewer adults means fewer eggs, means fewer babies, means fewer adults next season. Within 2 or 3 seasons of consistent trapping, some gardeners report that their slug problems have essentially disappeared. One more tip that experienced gardeners swear by: set up your beer traps in early spring, before you even start planting. As soon as the soil warms up and the first slugs start emerging from their winter hiding spots, get the traps out. Catch them early, before they have a chance to breed, and you will have far fewer slugs to deal with all summer. Prevention is always easier than treatment. So here is your action plan. Tonight, before you go to bed, grab a tuna can or a yogurt cup from your recycling. Pour in an inch of the cheapest beer you have, or mix up a batch of yeast and sugar water for even less. Dig a shallow hole next to the plant that has been getting chewed up the worst. Set the container in the hole with the rim at soil level. If you have time, set up 3 or 4 more around your worst problem areas. Go to sleep. Wake up tomorrow morning and check. I promise you there will be slugs in that trap. And every one of them is a slug that did not eat your garden last night. $1, 5 minutes, no poison, no dead birds, no sick dogs, no damaged earthworms. Just dead slugs and healthy plants. That is the trade. and it is the best deal in gardening. If you try this, come back and tell me in the comments how many slugs you caught on the first night. I want to see those numbers. And if you want more ways to take care of your yard for pennies instead of dollars, subscribe. Every video on this channel is about replacing expensive products with cheap solutions that actually work better. No sponsors, no affiliate links, just results.